Okay, good. All right. So once again, good evening, everyone. Before I was appreciating everybody for the sacrifice to be here, joining the class. I know it's not convenient for some people who have to go to work and all of that, coupled with the fact that rain is now falling and all the other things that you have to lay aside to be here. So once again, thank you for joining us today. Um, if you were in yesterday's class, this what I'm showing on the screen now would be of no surprise to you because this was what we were able to achieve in yesterday's class as part of the progress that we made for our reports. And similarly to last week, we are going to be populating this other page today. So we're just going to go ahead and try to continue quickly to fill in this part of the. So once again, I welcome everybody. So this is the second page of the 4-page reports that we're trying to build. We have the home page, 2 pages that contain visualizations, and another page for insights and recommendations as well. So today we are going to be trying to populate the second page, and I'm going to leave the insights and recommendations to us as in the last class. So when we'll be turning this in, it should be turned in with insights and recommendations. So let's just get straight into what we have today. Now, we are going to be answering a few questions and exploring some other visual types today. Now, basically, in Power BI, you are allowed to bring in more visualizations, particularly if your Microsoft account is connected, is signed in. You are allowed to, you see these 3 dots, you're allowed to click on it and say, get more visuals or remove a visual. Now, some of these visuals can be downloaded using JSON files. That is, import a visual from a file. That's where it comes from. Let me just show us how to get a visual that is not part of the pre-built. So it's going to, okay, let me just confirm if this is if you guys can see. Okay, good. So basically this brings out a list of other visuals that do not already come with Power BI by default. That do not already come with Power BI by default. You see here we have a vast array of visuals. They go on and on. They go on and on. For the sake of this though, I'm just going to try to download a visual from here and show you how it works. All right, so I'm going to try to download a visual. Okay, the word cloud visual. Now, when I click on the visual that I like, that I want to download, it's going to bring out that visual and ask me, okay, this is how this visual works. So I'm just going to wait for it to load this. Normally, it shouldn't take this long, but mind you, you have to be connected to the internet to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and say add. Now, take a look at this. Can you see import successful? Now, the new visual gets added right underneath the already existing visuals. As you can see, I'd already added 3 before, and this is the latest one that I just added right beneath it. So just in case there are some visuals you see online that you'd like to explore, and you don't see normally in Power BI, that is because those visuals were gotten from the Microsoft store. All right, so let's get straight into populating this page. So now we are going to be answering a question. We want to know how many staffs were retrenched and how many staffs were promoted in each department. We want to know how many staffs were retrenched and how many staffs were promoted in each department. So I'm going to come here, select, copy an existing visual, and paste it here. All right. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is to save me the stress of formatting. to save me the stress of having to apply similar formats. So the question is to find how many staffs were promoted and how many staffs were retrenched per each department. So for this, we are going to be needing total employees. We are going to be needing departments as well. We have 3 departments, and we're also going to be needing the retrenched and promoted measure. So I'm going to go ahead and say retrenched and due for promotion. Good. So for this, I'm going to be using what we call a stacked column chart. I'm going to be using a stacked column chart, as you can see here, the second visual. All right. Okay. Good. Okay. So we have the light blue representing staffs that will be retrenched, and the deep blue representing staffs that will be due for promotion. But we are going to need to format these colors. We're going to need to format these colors and also apply some formatting to the chart itself. So let's go ahead and quickly do that. For this, we're going to keep the legend because we are comparing. There's a comparison using a stack chart here. We'll keep this. Let's try to format the columns. Only due for promotion. Now for this, we are going to need the color codes that we've been working with. Luckily for me, I have them already written out. So I'm just going to get them where I wrote them out. Okay. All right. So I'll just try to paste the X code for the deep green. I'll use it for the stars that are due for promotion. And then for the stars that are going to be retrenched, I'll change the color to the lemon shade of green. I'll get the X code and just paste it in as well. These things that I'm doing should no longer be new things because we've done them repeatedly for some time now. Good. Here we go. I'm just going to go ahead. So I'm going to call this departments by retrenched. And I'm going to change the position of the slicer, of the legend, sorry. No, move it to the center. We are going to try to, on this same chart, we're going to try to change these values that we have for the title on the X and the Y axis. Let's come out here. Good. So that we'll be able to see the subtitle at a glance. I'll be changing the color to black and I'll be making it bold for the sake of readability. Now, the next two questions we're going to be answering is employees by marital status and employees that are working overtime. To do that, we need basically two columns. We need the total employees and we need their marital status. That's for employees by marital status. So I'll copy this here, paste it, and instead of using job level, I'm going to change it to marital status. And I'm going to make a formatting. I'll also change the title as stated and go employees by marital status. Okay, good. Let's format the title for the x-axis as well. That is where we are saying married, single, and divorce for the sake of readability. Okay, good. And secondly, employee that are working overtime. Now, quickly, let's check if we have an overtime column from our table view. Do we have any column like overtime? Okay. So the staffs they've been asked to signify if they work overtime by using yes or no. So that means we have two variables in that column. So we want to find total employees by overtime. So I'd like somebody in the house to suggest what kind of visual do you think we should use here? What kind of visual do you think we should use here? And why do you think we should use that visual? What kind of visual do you think we should use here? And why should we use that visual type?
I think we should use a pie chart because we are
Oh,
comparing
okay.
two variables.
Oh, okay. That was Winnie.
Yes.
Oh, okay, Winnie. All right. If you don't agree with Winnie, please go ahead and suggest another chart type. I'm with you. Okay, so it means we all agree with Winnie. No problem. So I'm going to be changing this chart type to a donut chart. I'm going to be changing this chart type to a donut chart. And we're going to be formatting it. Firstly, let's start with the legend by taking it out. And let's format our data labels. Let's format the data labels to show all. Now, if you look at this, because this is showing in thousands, we have 1K here, but 0K here. So we're going to need to make some formatting on the display unit. So just go ahead and say display units none. So this way we are able to see that 416 staffs are working overtime, making, and that's making up for over 28%. That should be 28.3% of the staff. Okay, good. Now we're going to be making changes to the colors. That's for each of the slices. Okay. All right, good. Now we want to also answer the percentage of high-rated staff and the performance and the
We have
percentage.
not changed the title, so
Oh, okay, sorry. So what's this? What are we going to call this? This should be employees. Okay, this should be employees. Does anybody want to suggest a better way they think we can write this title? I have a suggestion, but I want to hear from you first. Is there any better way you think we should write this title? Okay, let me just go ahead and call somebody. Martha is always joining this class at times, but she rarely speaks. Paul, are you there? Is Paul there? I don't want to call Winnie or Adeyemi because they've been the ones speaking. So let me call John. Is John Emeka there? Is John Emeka there? Why is no one responding? Can you guys not hear me? Okay, hold on. Someone's used the chat box. Oh, your background is noisy. All right, John. So if you've been listening, I asked, look at this visual here. We called it employees by overtime. And I'm asking, do you have a suggestion for what we can call the title or if we should change the title? Mind you, while we're waiting for John to give us an answer, let's go ahead and bring in the next visuals. That is the percentage of staffs, of top performing staff and the percentage of underperforming staff. So for that, we are going to be using an already existing. Okay, so this will be percentage of the top performing staff and let's have another percentage for the low performing staff, that is the underperforming. Good. Hmm, okay. Let's bring in a line to sort of act as the demarcation between both of them. Let's put a title as well. So we'll call this This is the percentage of underperforming staff. So let's call this percentage. As you can see, I'm just trying to format the visual appropriately. Okay. And I'll do the same for this right beneath it. I have an idea for this. I'm not sure it will look nice. So firstly, let's format this title. It's too bold and too big. Okay. All right, this makes more sense. So we are going to call this on top performing staff. Reduce the title size and basically make adjustments to it as well. Okay, good. Now, for this last part that we've reserved, we are going to be using the another visualization that we've not explored at all. We want to find the job role and we want to find the number of employees that are due for promotion and that will be retrenched by their job role. This time, not by departments, by job role. And for this, we're going to be using a table. For this, we're going to be using a table and formatting it adequately. Don't forget, there's already a layout, so I'm just trying to fit in the visual. Okay. Now, we are trying to find total employees that are due for promotion and that will be retrenched by their job role. So the first thing we're going to select will be the job role. Okay. Then the total employees, ones that are due for promotion and ones that will be retrenched. Now, basically, in Power BI, the table is another very important or very useful um, visualization. Similarly to the table, we have what we call a matrix. So now let's take a glance at both of the both the matrix and the table. And I want someone to tell me, so this is the table and this is the matrix. What do you notice? What seems different to you? What seems different to you? This is the table and this is the matrix. Do you notice anything different? Don't worry, Adeyemi and Winnie, you're allowed to speak now. Let me just show us again the table and the matrix. So do we notice anything different? If Adeyemi is there, please go ahead. I'm listening. Okay.
So a table displays a simple tabular form in rows and columns like we have in like Excel spreadsheets, while
Mm,
a matrix shows like a pivot table that summarizes data by their dimensions in rows and their columns.
Thank you. Now, basically, thank you for that. Now, if you visualize in Excel, it means you definitely got past the pivot table stage. It means you definitely got past it. Now, basically, a table is made up of rows and columns. A table is made up of rows and columns. That's non-negotiable. So similar, a table displays the values in regular rows and columns. Sorry. While for a matrix, okay, I've seen these two. I'm going to take the overtime allocation. So while for the matrix, we are getting data summarization similarly to what we get using a pivot table. So thank you very much for the Adeyemi. Let me quickly change the title of this. And thank you, Winnie, for the suggestion. So let's make a change to the title. So now that we've represented this in a table, we can see that for the healthcare representatives, there are a total of 131 staffs. 16 of them are due for promotion, and 13 of them will be retrenched. We see for the human resource unit, nobody is due for promotion. So basically, for those of us who, since we are going to be working on our insights, and I think this report is populated enough for there to be distinct insights. Unlike the last one where we had 4-4. I saw that most people were their insights and recommendations were within 4 and 5. So let's go ahead now and try to format this table. As you can see that it has a white background and there's some other things here. So when you want to format a table, there's quite a lot more options involved, unlike say a regular donut chart now. Look at how many options a table is giving us. So let's walk through the table visual, one after the other. So the first thing you can change is the style of the table. There are quite a few table styles in Power BI. If you say none, it appears like a normal table. No styling, no design, no background changing, just a normal table. If you say minimal, there is a line that separates the total values and the headings. That's what minimal does. If you say bold header, just like the name predicts, it makes your headers bold. Alternating rows. Alternating rows, can you see that what it did was to make changes to the background? Some background changed here. Some kept the white and others became gray. We have contrast alternating rows, basically similarly to the style that we explored earlier, just reducing the contrast. So most of this styling has to do with changing of colors and placement of some text formatting. We have flashy rows, as you can see. If you are familiar with table design in Microsoft Word or in PowerPoint, this would not be a surprise. Bold header, flashy rows, sparse, and condense. Good. So basically for this, I'm going to be using the, let me keep my, so let me keep it at minimal. Let me use the minimal, all right, style. Mind you, you guys can explore a few different styles for yours. It doesn't have to be exactly what I selected. That's exactly why I'm showing you the other options. You can pick anyone that you prefer. Nextly, we have the grid. Now, basically, the grid sets the lines set these lines that you see that separate each of these values. So firstly, you can set a line for, can you see that the grid lines? You can even turn it off completely if you don't want it. You can turn it off completely, or you can change the color and increase the size. Can you see that the size has increased? But for me, I'm going to be taking it off. I'm going to be turning it off. We have both horizontal and vertical grid lines. Can you see? We have both the horizontal and the vertical grid lines. So let's try to keep this for now. Now, the border. The border is the line that separates the header and the total values from the values in the table. And for this, let me just change it to a color that would not be so visible. Or better still, use the analysis colors. Are we still together, please? All right. All right. I'm very sorry. I have quickly attend to the door. Now, for the border, that is what it sets, and that's under the grid. I'm showing us all these things just for the case of trying to make a design for ours. I already know where I'm going with this, but I know you might want to be creative with yours. Now, for the values affect this text. You see the way that it is black and all of this now. If I go ahead and change the color here of the values. Now, following the style that I chose, which is minimal, the text color will change, and there is an alternate text color. That is, these other values that didn't change, if I want to change them too, I can go ahead and do this. Are we still together? I'm just going to go back to black because I don't want to be extra with the table. I just want to keep it as simple and as easy to understand as it can be. Okay. So for this, I'll be changing the background color for the values too. Interesting. Now we have the column headers. For the column headers, you can decide to change the color of the headers. You can decide to make it bold. You can decide to change the background color as well. You can even change the alignment of the headers, just as you see fit. Now, for the totals, what I like about the table visual is that it allows you to set every value, everything that appears to your own taste. Now, for the totals, you can do similarly what you did. If you don't want it to be called total, you can change it and say maybe summation, and it changes. I'm just going to go ahead and call it total. You can make other advanced formatting as well. I'm going to restore it to the original background. Now, you can set the columns specifically. You can make changes to specific columns. Say you want to make changes to maybe the total employees column now. I wanted to change the values there. Can you see? So part of the things that the table visual allows you to do is to set specifically for each element in the visual. Is to set specifically for each element in the visual. Now, if you want to even add an hyperlink to any of your values, it allows to do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and let me just zoom out. So we'll see how this looks in general. So we see that there's still a white background for the visual itself. So for that, we have to turn it off using general and turn off the background. Now, you can see that I already expanded this table, but the values inside of it have not expanded. So that means I have to do the increment from within the table. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the table and just go. Now start to increase the values from within the table. Let's start with the column headers. Let's start with the column headers and let's increase the size of the headers. Let's use about, say, okay, okay, good. Let's try to now increase the values inside the table itself. Let's go values. Can you see that the moment I increase the values, the table itself expanded? So it's not expanding the visual that makes the values increase. You have to increase the values from the visual formatting itself. So I'm going to go ahead and just reduce the size of the column headers. Make them bold. Okay, good. Let me zoom out again. Now, to this table, similarly to your pivot table in Excel, you can use conditional formatting. Similar to your pivot tables in Excel, you can use conditional formatting. How do we do that? Now, we'll come back to the build visual icon. You see the columns that you selected. Now you can go ahead and right click on, let's say, total employees now. You will see conditional formatting right here. You right click on the column that you want and you say conditional formatting. Now, there are various options for this conditional formatting. One of it, which is most popular, is to insert icons. To insert icons. Basically, who can remind me what conditional formatting is from Excel? What is conditional formatting? Please, I don't want you to use the chat box. I'd like you to unmute and speak.
Hello, can you
Good
hear me?
evening. Conditional.
Yeah, go on, Priscilla. I'm with you.
Okay, conditional formatting is like checking and putting a particular criteria to see if that criteria is met. So we usually use the if statement in Excel now to check
Mm,
for like if this people that are between this age to this age group them give them this name. We check for age. If it's age group, we can use it for age group. We can also
mm.
use it for salary. If the salary is up to 50,000, they should be grouped. They should be given a particular name if it's more than 50,000, just like that. So it's just like comparing. What should I be like? I think just for comparing.
Okay, all right. Duly noted. Now, somebody was about to say something before. Let me hear from you too. Your definition might be different. So I'm listening.
Okay.
Who was about to say something?
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
Paul. I'm with you. Yeah, I can.
Okay. Conditional formatting is used to put a certain formatting, styles, or icon on a range of columns or on column based on a certain criteria or based on a certain range of criteria.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for those definitions, Priscilla and Paul. Now, basically, we already have our table. In fact, mind you, I think I'm going to go ahead and take out the horizontal line from the table, from the grid, the vertical grid lines. Okay, good. So now I'm about to bring in, I was about to use conditional formatting earlier. So thank God we already explored conditional formatting in Excel. And we saw that for conditional formatting in Excel, we could use background color, that is highlight color. We could use icons, we could use data bars, even with our pivot tables. The same thing as well applies to Excel, applies to Power BI. So you can set a color gradient. You can set a color gradient if you are using the background color conditional formatting and say, okay, let it be a particular shade though, and say, okay, from here to here. And can you see that it has applied that background color? And from here, we are able to tell using these colors which department has the highest and which department has the least based on the shading. So I'm just going to undo this because this is not actually what I want to use. The other types of conditional formatting, we have the font color as well. What the font color will do is that instead of changing the background color, it will change the color of the text itself. It will change the color of the text itself. But what I want to use for this is the conditional formatting using data bars. Using data bars. So I'm going to go ahead and just select. Let me get my Xcode. Okay. Now it allows you to set that, okay, if the value is positive, let it be green. If it is negative, like if there is a minus or anything, let it be, you can say, let the color be red. So I'm going to go ahead and select the red color. No problem, make it red. Because we don't have any negative value from here now, you're able to tell that, okay, this is the highest, or this is the lowest, or this is the easily. The essence of conditional formatting is for the sake of better understanding, better readability, that the numbers are easier to grasp in a glance. So I'm going to go ahead and just try to change the color of these data bars and use the other shade of lemon. Let's give this a try instead. Okay, good. So you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same for the stats that are due for promotion as well. Let me use data bars. I've set the value for if the bars are positive. I already have the color code copied. If it is negative, let it be red. Now, if you are dealing with a table that has both positive and negative, colors transmit certain messages better as well. You imagine wanting to tell us that we had a loss or a number is negative and you're using green. Whenever you see red now, basically what comes to mind is something like danger, is something like stop, caution, and stuff like that. So in selecting colors too, especially if you're not working with specific brand colors, you need to know that certain colors transmit. Can somebody tell me why we don't have a bar displaying here? Why don't we have a conditional bar?
So there's no value there.
Exactly, because there's no value there. In fact, from if nothing catches your eye here, the moment you see that, hold on, there's no bar here, it will draw your attention here faster. So that's the essence of conditional formatting, just like Priscilla was trying to tell us from our definition earlier. And lastly, I'm going to be adding the data bar for the staffs that will be retrenched. Now, you see, if you notice, while I was trying to pick the colors, you notice that after positive and negative, there is an axis color. Basically, the axis color is this line. If you notice, there's like a line right at the end. Let me try to zoom in from here so you can see. There's a line on this chart. You can turn on the line, conditional formatting, data bars, and say show bar only. And it will take off the values from there. So I'm just going to go ahead and undo this and say, no, thank you. One way to take off the lines is to ensure that the color aligns with your background color. So for the axis, I'm going to change it to the background color. And there you go. So I'm just going to quickly do that for the other columns too, to take off the axis line. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what we will make of this when we try out our own visuals. So let's click on the reference column, the conditional formatting, the data box. Good. So let me try to zoom out and let's see how we are looking for the second page. All right, good. Now we have both the first page and the second page of the report populated. Now, for those of us who are yet to begin our visualization at all, I said I uploaded 2 home pages to the classroom. If you are going to be picking whatever home page you are picking, should already give you a color guide. And if you'd be designing your own page yourself, there are a few people who submitted visualizations with self-designed home pages, which is actually very nice as well. Basically, the color on your own page must correlate with the colors in your visuals as well. That being the first one. The second one is speaking concerning the bootcamp. Because you know that the bootcamp is approaching an end now, does not mean that the activities in the clique comes to an end. Basically, there are still people here who are trying to build online. There's still people here who are job seeking and all of that. And the myDataClique is planning a set of sessions, webinars, have professionals come speak to us, and things like that. So that the bootcamp comes to an end does not mean growing comes to an end. I'm not saying the bootcamp is coming to an end. We still have Python coming up after this and a few other tech talk sessions. And I want to remind us to not forget that we'll be having the LinkedIn optimization session this weekend on Sunday as well. The proper details will be posted on the classroom for when we're supposed to join it. That is the meeting link. So I don't know if anybody has a question. If you have a question, please you can go ahead and ask me your question. If you have a question, please go ahead and ask me your question.
Yes, I have a question.
All right, Winnie. Winnie, please go ahead.
On this graph of employees by marital status,
Okay.
why do we use different colors for married, single, and divorced?
Okay. Let's give it a try, don't we? So we're going to change the colors. Let the married keep their color. Let the single go. How's this looking, Winnie? Winnie, how is this looking now? Is it better?
Yeah, it's better, but the divorced color is not within our theme.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me go ahead. And, okay. All right.
Yeah, that's better.
All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this. Okay. So once again, does anybody have questions? Any questions? Is anybody asking questions? All right. So in the absence of um further questions, I'm seeing something in the chat. Can we ask? Sure. You can ask questions when you're going through it later. Definitely, Opeyemi, you can always reach out to me. You can tag me at Delani on the group if you have questions, and you can reach out to me privately as well with your questions later. So if that is fine with you. So please bear in mind, we'll be having a LinkedIn optimization session on Sunday. That's firstly. Secondly, this second report, I'm going to be creating a submission pane in the classroom. A few people have submitted the first report. To get a check mark for this session, this series of the bootcamp, you need to complete both your reports. So if you've completed the first one, then you need to take on this one as well. Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right then. So in the absence of questions, I'd like to thank each and every person for joining today. You'll be hearing from me on the group as well, and you'll be seeing me on the classroom from time to time. Yes, you can still submit both too. Of course. That's why I'm saying that you have to submit both. If you've not completed the first one, please complete that before completing this as well. That is why we upload the recordings to YouTube, so you can catch up at your own speed. So, John, have I answered your question?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay. So, I'll see you guys some other time. Thank you very much for joining in. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And don't forget to populate your insights and recommendations. For your insights and recommendations, I will populate mine. Don't forget to populate yours before submitting. So, all right. Good evening, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening once again.